guys, welcome to another episode of Joe Knows. I know it's been a while, but I am back with a new episode, and today I'm going to be talking about something that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is training with chronic low back pain. And many of you might know my history. I don't want to bore those of you who already know my history. For those who don't, a very, very brief version, abbreviated version of my history with low back problems, low back pain. When I was 17, I developed a tumor in my spine, but it was misdiagnosed for over 4 years. So during the course of that 4 to 5 year period, I had 4 major back surgeries. I was cut through the front, biopsies, bone biopsies, experimental procedures, surgeries, injections, you name it, I had it done. They eventually discovered I had a tumor. It was removed. Thankfully, it was benign. That's why I'm able to sit here and talk to you guys today. But all those procedures, the surgeries, the things I went through, the massive amount of pain I was living with, all that has left me with a lot of issues that I deal with on a daily basis. I have nerve damage from one of the surgeries. I have severe pain and numbness shooting down my left leg, muscular atrophy going on in my tibialis. I still get back spasms. I have disc herniations from over compromising on my good side. When I had the tumor, I have a tablespoon sized hole in my sacrum. You name it, I kind of have to deal with it. And with my low back pain, it's not going to go away. So I just kind of deal with it. And that's what this video is for. It's helping you guys that have low back pain, chronic low back pain, helping you still go to the gym and train. I don't claim to be a doctor, but I've learned a lot throughout the years. I've been through a lot when it comes to low back pain, and I've still been able to stay in pretty good shape and remain pretty strong. So I'm going to share with you guys a few of the common things that I avoid and what I do to replace those things in my training. All right, this could probably end up being a 2 or 3 part series, but I'm going to start today with 5 things that I avoid and what I replace them with in the gym in order to work around chronic low back pain. All right, first thing we want to avoid is training first thing in the morning. I know a lot of you like to wake up, slam a cup of coffee, and immediately hit the gym because you want to get it in before you head to work. I get it. But if you have chronic low back pain and you're susceptible to a low back injury, I highly recommend you wait at least an hour after you wake up before you train. Personally, I wait at least 3. I generally train in the afternoon or at night. I can't train in the morning. And the reason being, when we sleep, our discs actually rehydrate. So when you wake up in the morning, your discs are actually occupying more space. They're filled more with fluid. And that's why if you ever measure yourself, you're actually taller first thing in the morning compared to later on in the day. But almost think of your discs when they're in this state, this rehydrated state. Think of them like a water balloon that is filled to max capacity. If we have that balloon, what's going to happen if we try to compress it a little bit? Like if we were squatting, or we drop it or move too fast, add too much pressure, that thing's going to burst, right? And think of your discs the same way. First thing in the morning, if you're compressing your spine, you're rotating, you're flexing, your discs are going to be more likely to rupture, herniate, or be injured, as opposed to later in the day, they take on more of the role of, picture a balloon that's halfway filled with water. Now that balloon we could drop, we could throw around. We have much more wiggle room for that balloon before it breaks or bursts, or in this case, our discs get injured. So for that reason, I recommend waiting at least an hour before you strength train if you want to decrease your chances of injuring a disc. Number 2, and this is with regards to warming up and stretching or mobility. Most people spend way too much time emphasizing the hamstrings and directly stretching their low back. Those seem to be the two most common areas that people focus on when they have low back pain and low back tightness. But in my opinion, the big 3 for low back pain relief is the hip flexors, the adductors, and the glutes. Those are the big 3. Those are the 3 muscles you want to emphasize, warming up and mobilizing if you have low back pain. And I say mobilizing, I'm not just talking about stretching. What I want is a combo, and what I found to work best is a combination of smashing the muscle and stretching the muscle. And we'll run B-roll footage of some of my favorite combinations for those 3 muscle groups of smashing and then stretching. When I refer to smashing, I'm referring to applying pressure to the muscle using things like barbells, kettlebells, weight plates, foam rollers, lacrosse balls, using those type of implements to really apply pressure. And then you could move into more of a classic stretch or classic mobility drill. The combination of the 2 works the best. So you want to focus on that 1-2 punch and those 3 muscle groups: the hip flexors, the adductors, and the glutes. Because all 3 of those, when they get tight, they have a downward pull on your spine or your pelvis. And that downward pull is what translates to low back pain and low back tightness. But a lot of times, people go right to the low back, or they're told to stretch their hamstrings, and it's not going to work as well as if you address those 3 muscles. I'm telling you, they will give you your greatest relief. Give it a shot. Number 3, and this is one of the most popular questions I get, and that is, what do you do for lower body training? If you have chronic low back pain, are you someone who just needs to skip leg day? And the answer is no. But I will tell you personally, I do avoid direct spinal compression, aka barbell squatting, and front-loaded hip hinges, aka deadlifting, in my programming. Both of them kill my back for my issues. There's doesn't matter how good my mechanics are, doesn't matter the technique, they do damage at this point. So what I focus on are unilateral exercises. That's what I use for my main lifts. And I like unilateral exercises for people with chronic low back pain for many reasons, but 2 of the most important reasons are, number 1, it allows your upper body to stay more vertical. It just seems to be a much safer position. And also, many unilateral exercises really enable you to improve your flexibility while you are strength training. So to give you an example, some of my favorites are rear foot elevated split squats. If you watch someone doing that exercise properly, their upper body is a little more vertical, and you'll see a big stretch on their back leg, their hip flexor, and their quads. Also, reverse lunges. I love variations of all kinds of reverse lunges, step ups, and the list goes on and on. But unilateral exercises are where I place my emphasis for my personal lower body training, and the number 1 implement for people with chronic low back pain: sleds. All variations of sled dragging, pushing a sled, dragging a sled forward, backward, sideways, you name it, we incorporate it into our programming. And the thing I love about the sled, if you're a meathead and you still want to do something heavy, but you're just not able to squat or deadlift heavy, you could load that sled up and push massive amounts of weight, get your max effort work with the sled, because you could handle heavy weights, but there's absolutely no direct compression on your spine. It's actually very easy on your joints, and especially your low back, while you are pushing heavy weights, dragging heavy weights, and working hard. So man, if you have chronic low back pain, get yourself a sled and make it a staple in your routine. All right, moving on. One thing we got to talk about is the bench press. And something that I no longer do is overarch when benching in an attempt to shorten the range of motion. I now focus more on my upper back, and I pull my scapula together and down and leave my lower back alone. All right, so I just go with the natural curve in my lumbar spine. I keep that, focus more on my upper back, shoulder blades together and down. That brings the sternum up, brings my chest up, shortens the range of motion a little bit. And then I always elevate my feet. A lot of people ask me, why do I elevate my feet on blocks when I bench? It's not because my legs are that short. That takes some of the pressure off of my lower back. All right, if you have low back issues, regardless of your leg length, I recommend elevating your feet when you bench. That will alleviate some pressure, some tension and stress on your lumbar spine. And then you could drive your feet through those blocks or set up plates. Just elevate the feet. And then when you press, focus on squeezing the hell out of your glutes and driving your shoulders through the bench and your feet through the plates or the blocks that you have them elevated on. And that will make for a much safer, more stable bench without crushing your low back. And I just want to conclude this video by discussing abdominal strength or core strength. Hopefully you know, if you have low back issues, it is very important to develop a strong core. But you do not want to develop that strength via spinal flexion exercises, things like crunches or sit-ups. The majority of your core training should come from plank variations. You want to do things like front planks, side planks. Any anti-movement pattern is going to be the safest, most productive way for you to develop that core strength if you have chronic low back issues. So that rounds out my top 5 list. We'll probably have to do another 1 or 2 follow-up videos, but hopefully the things I discussed today will help you guys out. For those of you who have more acute problems or you've injured your back a few times here and there, I just want to make sure you know that this video isn't meant to tell people to just avoid exercises or work around the problem your entire life. For most of you, if you do injure your low back or you suffer from some acute low back issues, your number one goal should be to get with a qualified professional, find out exactly what you did, and then fix the problem. Don't just work around it your entire life. Fix it. But while you're going through it, hopefully the things I discussed today help guys like you out. So that's all I got for today. Hopefully this helped you guys out. If it did, I appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because I am back and I got more Joe Knows videos coming at you. Thanks for watching.